Welcome to the Environmental Justice Leaders Program Limited Series podcast. I am your host, Dr. Mayra Sanchez from the UC Davis Feminist Research Institute. This is a three-part series where you will get to hear from the 6 2024 environmental justice leaders working with UC Davis researchers. These leaders are all based in California and have extensive backgrounds as frontline organizers and advocates. Together, we will learn about the transportation and energy justice issues these leaders are tackling in communities across the state. If you'd like to learn more about the environmental justice leaders and the work of the Feminist Research Institute, be sure to follow us on social media and visit our website at free.ucdavis.edu. For generations, dominant ways of living and knowing have erased valuable knowledges and eroded our earth, leading to tremendous environmental injustice and irreversible climate change that unevenly impact Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Reconnecting or remembering with our roots, building our solidarity across communities, and cultivating hope in our future generations can be a way to transform our relationships with our environment. Today, we're joined by Rio Oxas, an environmental justice leader from this year's program, who is attuned to these struggles. They're working to build movements of solidarity and community to counter environmental degradation and climate change across California and the nation. Rio Oxas is a co-founder of RAHOK, which stands for Race, Ancestors, Health, Outdoors, and Knowledge, and intends to illuminate the interdependence between these and cultivate loving ecohoods. RAHOK is based in Tongva land, which is now known as Los Angeles. Their mother is from Cuxcatán, El Salvador. Their father is from Guatemala. And they have many lineages, including Nahuatl Pipil and Mayan. Rio holds a master's in education and social justice and is a national bicycle safety coach. Over the last years, Rio has worked alongside Black, Indigenous, people of color to advocate for mobility, food, racial, environmental, and health justice. Thank you for being here, Rio.
Yeah, thank you for having me here
I'm
today.
so excited for this conversation.
Me too, actually.
Awesome. RAHOK, which stands for the name of your organization, is also a Mayan Quechua word that means the action of love. Love asks us to act courageously to transform that which causes hurt or harm to people and the planet. This is a quote on your website. Could you share with us more how you see your work as a consultant as love and healing?
It's a family-owned business, first of all, so I think that's really important because RAHOK means that also I get to work with my wife and our kids, and that at the center of that is love, actually. And when we think about love and we think about just like our families in love, it's like, yeah, it's actually moving through those very tough conversations. That to me, that's where love is at. You know, there's happy joy moments, but love is going through that very tough moment of conflict, of misunderstanding, of miscommunication, and going through it to come out to have like healthier styles of communicating, healthier styles of being with each other. And I realized that because of this concept of professionalism that is often pressed upon us in this kind of context, in this kind of culture, we kind of cold away from that and get maybe shy, embarrassed from that and being like, I have to be composed. I have no feelings at work. I don't have my personal life is not brought here. And that's just not true. All of our life experiences, however the heck my day was going, that's going to impact the way I do work. And so when I think about RAHOK and I think about bringing love to the table, whether I'm facilitating a conversation with transportation officials or government agencies or private firms, I always start from that place of compassion. Like, okay, you might not understand something because you don't have a lived experience, but we can transform it with love. Because I really think like there's no other way to do that. And love creates that situation and necessity to have those really, what I've been calling now, heart work, those really heart work conversations. Like that's the work that, you know, means like, okay, how do we sit here and you might have said something that was super offensive to the community. You might have really not mean it giving it the benefit of the doubt, then how do we get to the education, the understanding, and the compassion for that? So that really what we're asking, maybe the folks who have more power, more agency, if they can humanize themselves, maybe they can start humanizing other people that are not themselves. This culture has taught us as professionals to dehumanize ourselves. And when we do that, it's hard to humanize others in our work. It's a number. It's a census tract. But it's like, no, those are families. Mm-hmm. That's a whole person. That's a mom. That's a tia. That's a grandma. That's a whole person that matters to a community, right? And so I think that's why I want to underscore love. Let's humanize it. And if we do that, maybe we're going to be more thoughtful about how we implement things, what decisions we're making.
So you say that love is at the core. How do you find integrating that with your work with professionals, and such as like here with UC Davis researchers or other projects that you've done consulting?
The way that I've done it a lot is through an education-based approach. I come from a place of wanting to believe that the knowledge is not there. And that if I can help level out the playing field for knowledge's sake, I had a organization, a nonprofit, established for a long time, but the board was predominantly white and had just gotten around in a predominant immigrant community. So there's a big mismatch and a lot of discomfort that was happening there, right? And when I was tagged, I thought, dang, like they really don't have the life experience to understand at all what this immigrant community is going through. I understand it. My parents are immigrants, but they don't. Nobody that I know of was actively like, I'm choosing that womb to be, gestated and being born from. So we don't know what life experiences we're going to get, right? So for me, the first base is knowledge. Is there ways that we can impart knowledge, common ground, common definitions, some kind of understanding, a dialogue that like humanizes everybody in the room, including people who might have said unknowingly racist crap? Can we address it? And if with education being the base, and if that person can make the adaptation and the transformation which love asks for, then yes, I can trust this person. If they can't after that, and then okay, that's another problem. Like that, we're done with that. Like love also has a boundary.
I'm really interested in if you could share with us more how you think about land and building relationship with land.
Yeah, land is so important to me, to all of humanity. It's so important, land. I definitely really believe in the ways that our ancient communities in 1982 in Quito, Ecuador, the nations from Alaska to Patagonia came together and said, hey, this is not called the Americas, this is called Abya Yala, and they chose a Kuna language from the Panama people to name it that way. But when I think about land, I really think about the Abya Yala ancient communities in the way that they were very much like, hey, you work it, that's your land. It's amazing to me that we still have a lot of Native communities, including in Guatemala, where I'm from, where they're still working the land as they had been for thousands of years. Because I have that background, and then we moved to the city, and then I got to see my parents buy a house, because now we're using the English common laws or the Spanish laws that came in to kind of influence how we think about land here, which is privatizing land, right? Seeing that and understanding that now we're in a place where we kind of have to buy land because it's been, now that there's land privatization, my dad was like, let's buy it. And then we saw the gentrification take place in Echo Park. I realized at that moment that I was like, wow, I really don't believe in the privatization of land. However, we are in the system now. And that's when I decided to get a realtor license. And I remember crying about it. We tried organizing, we tried to advocate, we tried democracy. It all failed. We even got ourselves voted into the Echo Park Neighborhood Council to make give advice to council member Mitchell Farrell, which he said he accepted none of it. And instead, actually, the district attorney shut us down. Even in the name of democracy, which I don't even believe in democracy, we still couldn't do anything. And that's when I decided to get my real estate license. And I thought, the thing I haven't seen is my dad and mom get plucked out of this home because they bought it in the 80s when it was very cheap. And then realizing like, dang, but my dad, capitalist way allows immigrant communities to stay in their home for a long time because he doesn't look to evict people. And I thought, well, I got to get my license so I can help others out around land stuff. Now I guess think of different modes of land ownership. So we also have this other collective named Chanich, Chanich 7. And it's a collective group, and we're pulling in our resources. Like, okay, well, some of us do know about real estate. A couple of us do. So let's try to privately own it, but let's figure out a way to make it a collective ownership thing. So there's like 8 families involved in it. So we're exploring it right now. You know, if you don't have grants, if you don't want it to be a land trust, if you want something for your generations to come, what are the alternative forms?
Also at the core of the way in which you think and your perspectives has been to reconnect or remember your roots.
Yeah.
Learning or remembering Mayan, right? Or Nahuatl?
Mayan and Nahuatl.
Could you tell us more about how these languages that also carry ways of being and ways of knowing, what are these ancient worldviews? What do they have to offer today?
Oh, yeah.
Why are they important?
Yeah.
What can they teach us?
When I think about our roots and I think about the initial invasion that was about 500 some years ago, I always think about the stories that we hear through our glyphs, through some written languages, some written documents that were used. Like we've had ancestral technologies. I mean, how else did we build these mega pyramids? And some of them were just torn down, but like Tenochtitlan, Teotihuacan, Tikal, the Yucatan Peninsula, like so, Machu Picchu, like these are incredible feats to build. We had an incredible technological system that was already in place to house indefinitely. Like now some of the buildings we see today, I'm just like, they get broken down. Like they're not taken care of. Like in 100 years, they're like broken, termites, whatever. The pyramids, those homes are still there. And I think that's so I know for a fact, just looking at just from a very historical base, I'm like, we had some really awesome technological ways and tools that when the invasion came, it got decimated. They just found out that we had an incredible transportation network. I don't know if, I guess some new technology came out where they could see all the different, freeways and highways and streets that were built that was intense and extensive, and that just got, I guess rediscovered. And from what I understand, we weren't impacting climate in a way that was been devastating. For all the massive extinctions have been happening in the last century. Mm-hmm. That means our technology is actually so awful that most of extinction has been taking place. And that to me is just mind-blowing, right? And so it's not saying let's throw everything out that we have now. It's impossible, but what can we merge? What can we integrate? What can we weave together so we can go back to? Yeah. And Indigenous exists everywhere on Earth. Mm-hmm. There's tribal people literally all over the world. Mm-hmm. So everybody has some type of technology that has been like in cahoots with what the land offers. And I think that to me is the Indigenous part, is like, what is the land you're standing on that already offers plenty of, and then use those resources to build, to eat, like what's there? Oak trees, right? Mm-hmm. Like, why are we not eating more acorn? Why did we decide to like abolish all oak trees to grow almonds, mm-hmm. which are like water intensive and really harmful, right? This is what I mean by that, right? Or why are we channelizing the San Joaquin River? That was not appropriate. Like, that's just hurting our animals, And those animals, some of the smaller game we used to eat. Mm-hmm. Instead, we're importing, who knows, cattle from the other side of the world to eat, and that's what's making it, to me, very troublesome. Even my teachers in Guatemala wouldn't be like, yeah, try to use everything that we have here in Guatemala to bring over there, because they think that's inappropriate. Because Indigenous means like to the land. So it's like, well, what do I have here that I can use for our small ceremonies or whatever you're doing for yourself to take care of yourself? You have to look like what's already natural here. What can I access in a non-exploitative way?
Great. So you're talking about time, right? Mm-hmm. And climate change, environmental justice, the day-to-day survival in our fast-paced society, especially for under-resourced communities, is seen as an urgent matter that requires an immediate solution. How do you think of time in the projects that you are involved?
I think in some of the projects I'm involved with, there's definitely because I have been trained to move fast. 'Cause, I want to move fast because I definitely feel like a little bit of a urgency, you know. And then when I'm moving with my collective, and there's humans, and there's an adjustment period for all of us, I also understand that fast isn't always the right way to a solution. And I know that we do that a lot with technology, which is what technology is making me really nervous about. It's like new EV cars, send it out without thinking about the life cycle of the battery. Where did the battery originally come? Where is it getting its photovoltaic cell? Which community is it harming? Like, is that really more earth friendly that we're opening up some part of another world and then devastating communities with who knows what, like asthma, water pollutions? Is that really earth friendly because we want to drive our electric vehicle that doesn't gas guzzle? I don't know. Is it? Maybe we should have slowed down to think about this a little bit more. And so I'm learning that slowing down and being methodical, but moving still, not just like slowing down and like, let's think on it. No, like moving, going at a nice pace together. The EV thing, for example, it would have been great to have like wherever you're extracting the material, probably those people should be on the table, including a worker that's going to be doing that. So we can hear from firsthand, like, well, if you do that, these things are going to happen, and you're going to need them on the table, and the health officials and the water protectors, whatever. Which means you're going to move slower because there's more people on the table. And so now I've been thinking about that what's more important is an integrated approach and not a silo approach to hurry up to some solution, because sometimes it makes it worse. You know, and like, again, we're seeing that with EV cars. It's like now we have the life cycle battery problem. Like, it's like the extraction. And then where does the battery end? And where does it then deplete and leak out all these nasty toxic, like, because we went so fast that we thought, and was like, well, what's worse? You know? There's always, and I love bicycles, of course. What if instead of investing all this like technological money into somebody's venture for EVs, we had invested it into just more buses frequently?
Yeah.
You know, a simple solution. Yeah, gas gasoline still, but it carries so many more people on it.
Yeah. And you bring up these issues to transportation, mobility. Mobility justice is another big area of the work that you've been doing for several decades.
Yes, that's the longest one, yeah.
And at another space, I heard you say that mobility justice is sort of the arteries of different social justice movements, right? Could you tell us more about how you see mobility justice and what it represents to you?
At a more fundamental, it's about, you know, people moving through space and getting there like safely, comfortably, dignified, with love, like all the way through at a most fundamental level. But those very same arteries, as I've been calling them, also move freight, also move the items we're interested, the ambulances. And so it literally means that every single social justice movement is moving through these arteries. It's like it's also moving landfill, which needs to be picked up, but it's landfill that's probably being thrown somewhere inappropriately. And so when I think about the arteries and mobility justice being that social justice movement, it's like, yeah, like whose community is it moving through? How is it moving through? And whose community is it going to? Like, where is that trash going? Where is that photovoltaic cell that we just talked about? Where is that going? Where is that ending up? Like, it's not just disappearing. It's going through communities constantly, right? And it's going to end up somewhere. Why are we having one community get, you know, from the port, wherever the port is, just have all the influx of semi-trucks coming through? Usually to bring non-important things. Probably most of the things there are not actual of value for people's livelihood. Like, but a lot of it's probably more
junk.
Yeah, things all of us could do with it. Yeah, necessary. So I always think about that with arteries and how mobility justice, that's what's epic about it. It addresses that, but it also addresses the workers. Like the landfill driver is driving landfill, and at the same time, they should have a dignified experience with their driving. This bus driver, you know, the ambulance driver, like we should think about them too. You know, who's cleaning our streets? Like, there's nobody that, you know, Nobody doesn't use it. Even animals use it, right? I think on 118, not I think, on the 118, they're building that giant animal corridor because they kept finding out that the animals were dying as they were crossing the freeway. So they started to build animal corridors like above freeways, under freeways, and that's important because they are also part of, that's what I mean by arteries, like they are also part of that.
Yeah.
And we should be thinking about that when we're building a highway or a street, like how are animals going to get there? It's a new one. They've been walking here this whole time. So then you also need the wildlife expert Well, a lot does happen there, and maybe we just get concentrated on moving cars, for example, versus like all the things I just named.
Yeah, that's very interesting. How mobility is not just about moving objects or people, but of really looking at the lives that are being reproduced and available through this movement, right? This freedom or restriction of movement. What opportunities do people have? How are they able to care for their families? What jobs they have available? And of course, this is also tied to health issues, right? Regarding emissions, regarding the jobs that you have access to, or a more holistic and interconnected way of social movements.
Yeah.
What gives you hope for a more environmentally just future?
Our elders and our youth. I think that a lot of our elders had an opportunity to see some of that before the just wild influx of cars, right? We still have them. We have that as a gift of knowledge. And then our youth who are innovating, and some of them rightfully super upset. I hear that from our daughters who are Gen Z, and they're just like, and a lot of it comes from the pressures of seeing what's going on and being like, that's not working very great. But they give me a lot of hope, and then just the ability for all of us to want to learn. Like anytime I see somebody, whatever age, is interested in getting more knowledge and making an adjustment and changing, simple things like, let's eat mostly plant-based because we know how awful, animal consumption, like we're not getting an e-bike so we can get rid of one car. We did that. Little things like that. And then I see other adults around me, other community members doing the same thing. It's like, oh, you got an e-bike. That's cool. You can go like that. And it's so simple, but little things that help reduce. Yeah, that gives me hope. Yeah, the day-to-day actions give me hope.
Well, thank you so much. Is there anything you'd like to add?
I think that's it.